2 Christmas cards using 1 die from Yana and Spellbinders. Hey everyone, it's Joy here and welcome to my channel. This is Yana's Amaryllis die from Spellbinders, and for my first card I have die cut from some Gold Mirror cardstock, just the flower. There are leaves, I'm not going to be using that, and then there's a small bud I'm not going to be using on this first card. So I'm going to die cut from white cardstock, and I'm going to be coloring with ink and adding some detail with markers. So I left my die cut, I put a little bit of low tack tape behind it, but I'm going to ink blend with Lumberjack Plaid, and then I'm coming in with some Copic markers in R39 and R37, and I'm just looking at the bases of the petals of the flowers, adding a little bit of dark shadow with that R39, and then blending out slightly with the R37. This is pretty subtle. I probably could have gone a little bit darker, but this is just giving a little bit of shadow area instead of having to color every petal with alcohol ink markers. Not that I don't love that, but this is a quicker way to do it. So you can start to see these come alive. This is going to have the gold mirror that I die cut going on top. Now these those little petal pieces actually pop out of this, so that's why I put tape behind it. I'm going to add some liquid glue. I'm using Artist Glue or Artiste Glue, excuse me, with my reverse tweezers. I'm going to adhere this down. Then there's that solid piece that's like a shadow layer, and I will adhere it to this. So I'm being really careful because, again, all those little pieces are just held together. Nothing's holding them together. So as you can see, that little piece popped out. I'm going to add some liquid glue. I am making sure that liquid glue touches every little die cut piece on the back. That way nothing pops off. Then I can adhere it to this Gold Mirror cardstock shadow piece, and this is our beautiful flower. Super quick and super easy to put together, to color. I like the idea of ink blending and then just coming in with a little bit of marker to give some details. Then I have some oval dies from Spellbinders. I'm going to die cut from white cardstock. I am using this Snowflake embossing folder and Evergreen Bough Distress Oxide ink. I'm going to ink blend on the debossed side, I guess. So when you emboss it, it's gonna be the normal embossing side that has the color that's gonna show up on top. So I'm gonna ink blend with my blender tool here, with my Dome Foam and blender tool. I'm gonna place my oval, close my lid, and run this through the die cut machine. I love how this turned out. The color is so soft and so pretty, and it kind of collects around those snowflakes. So this is going to be part of our background. Then another A2 size piece that I'm going to ink blend with the Evergreen Bough, just to have a nice solid green background. And I could have used the piece that I die cut the oval, but I die cut it crooked, so I could not use that. Okay, I've got my Better Press system here. I'm using the cotton cardstock for the Better Press. This is Home for Christmas from Yana and Spellbinders. And I am going to do 4 sentiments because I figured I could put them aside, but only 3 worked because one of my pieces of tape here, I just kind of wasn't paying attention to where I had that placed. And so one of the sentiments stamped on that, and I didn't worry about redoing it because I'm only making 2 cards. I decided to use some archival inks. One of my viewers said that she uses Tim Holtz archival inks. So I have Ranger's Intense Black archival ink, and I'm inking that up. And this is my first time using not Better Press ink, and I think it worked wonderful. I think it came out beautiful. I've got this nice, good sentiment, but you see my Merry Christmas sentiment there? Yeah, it did not work out. I'm using the coordinating dies, taping those in place, running that through my die cut machine. And now I already have my dies for both of my cards. I'm using some 3mm foam adhesive behind my oval. I'm going to pop this up right in the center. I love all of those snowflakes on there. They're just my favorite. And then I'm going to add some 2mm foam adhesive strips, or one strip, behind the amaryllis flower, and then I can center that. And I'm using the Joy to the World sentiment that we just created with the Better Press. I'm going to use a little bit of foam adhesive on either side and a little bit of liquid glue right in the center. And this is just going to straddle over the stem of the amaryllis. And then I thought it would be fun to bring in a little bit of glitter, so I'm using Pops of Color Glitter Champagne, and I'm going to add it to some of the already embossed existing dots. I thought that would be a lot of fun, and I'm just tapping the back, and that kind of flattens it down, so if you have that little Hershey Kiss top piece, you don't want that. Okay, let's go to our second card. I'm going to ink blend an A2 size piece of cardstock with lumberjack plaid. So remember I said we're going to use this one die, so this amaryllis die from Jana and Spellbinders, to create 2 cards. This card is going to be a little different but kind of similar. So after I'm done ink blending, I am going to use Spellbinders. Oh gosh, this is the Splatter White. I wanted to have like white snow kind of feel in the background. So I'm gonna put a little bit of that on my work surface with a small paintbrush and a little bit of water. I'm gonna mix it up, and then I'm just gonna tap this all over my whole background. Now I did take that amaryllis die and the small flower of the amaryllis I did not use on the first card, and I die cut multiple of those from the Gold Mirror cardstock. I don't need the shadow piece, just this detail piece. I popped out all of those centers, so those little center pieces that we kept on the first card and colored, I popped all of those out. I do have my sentiment here, and I'm using it to help me decide where I want to have all of my flowers. So I'm going to glue all of these down. This is just going to be just a nice whole background kind of image, and the sentiment is going to be our centerpiece, but really the whole background is our focal point. So using some liquid glue, I'm making sure I'm getting all of the edges, because I will trim off obviously the excess off of from around this card. I'm not going to trim this smaller than an A2 size. I like it this size. So I'm going to put all of these in place, and we have those little buds, those 3 little amaryllis buds, 3 large amaryllis flowers. Just making sure that everything's kind of spaced nicely, and at the same time I want it to feel random. And I don't know about you guys, but sometimes it's hard to make things look random, because some random doesn't look good and then other random looks good, but you have to work at that. It's just so funny. So that's what I was trying for here. Let me get these last couple little flowers down, and then I can trim all of that excess off once that's just a little bit dry. I don't want it to be super wet because it would still move around, but that Artis glue does dry pretty quick. So let's get the excess off here, and I'm going to use some foam adhesive behind my sentiment. Now I was going to leave the background just like this, and I did add some of those pops of color in the glitter champagne, but I thought I am going to use my markers the same way I did on the first flower, and it makes it stand out, makes the flower stand out a little bit differently than just the rest of the red background. So I'm using the same 2 colors, R39 and 37. So again, this was just an afterthought, so I kind of had to work around my sentiment, but it really wasn't a big deal. So I did that to all of the flowers, the shading, and then that lighter color going over and blending that out. And let's take a look at that up close. Now you can see that those flowers stand out differently than that red background. So I think it was a really good choice. Here's our first card that we created. I love that with that pretty green. I think this turned out so lovely. Thank you guys so very much for stopping by and watching. I hope that you enjoyed this project. I hope you guys feel inspired, and comment below of which one you like best. Thank you again, and have a wonderful day.